class. Today I will be teaching about the topic infection control protocols in OT. In OT there are some protocols that you have to follow. Okay, as a healthcare member you have to follow each and every protocols which are based on in OT. So let us see what are the aim of infection control protocols. First, it provides to provide a sterile field for a safe surgery. तो एक जो भी surgeries perform करना है, that surgery should be the procedure should be in a sterile technique. Okay, sterility is one of the main principles that has to be followed in OT. ठीक है? We cannot do any surgery or we cannot use any instrument without being sterile. Okay, even the even the smallest needle also, okay, that needle also should be a sterile needle. It should not be used needle, okay, or it should not be opened. Even the sponge, okay, the gauze pieces also, gauze pieces है या cotton rolls है, ये सारा sterile होना चाहिए. So we have to prepare a sterile field, okay, for a safe surgery, so that there will be no complication. Because if the instruments are not sterile, then there can be chances for infection. Okay, so that is the main aim of this protocol. Next is the prevention of hospital acquired infection. Okay, so this is very important. We should try to avoid transmitting infection from one person to another person. Okay, and third is prevention of occupational hazards. Okay, so this topic has been taught to you in a very detailed class, okay, on the occupational hazards, on the hazards and the falls and the risks that every health member will deal with in the OT. Okay, so today I will be mainly talking about the protocol. Okay, so this also I have taught you that OT has three layouts. Okay, that is the outer zone, the clean or the semi-restricted zone, and the restricted zone. So in the outer zone there is the main access, corridor, transfer area, transfer of patient from wards, okay, to OT or from OT to wards, that is the transfer area. Then there is a supervisor office or a control station, documentation area, pre-operative patient holding area. So there's a pre-operative ward also, okay, a pre-operative room in OT. There's a pre-operative room in OT, there's a post-operative room also in OT, and the changing room, okay, the changing facilities, wherever the changing, okay, the doctors or the nurses, they have to change their clothes, the changing rooms are also in the outer zone. Next zone is the clean or the semi-restricted zone. Okay, it consists of the clean corridor, the sterile and the equipment sterile store, the storeroom where we keep all the sterile equipment, okay, coming from the CSSD department. All the autoclaved sterile equipments, they are placed in the sterile store. Next, the anesthesia and the recovery room. Okay, there is an anesthesia in the recovery room. So like I said, there is a post-operative room also. So this post-operative room is nothing but anesthesia and recovery room. Okay, and there is the rest room. Okay, during after surgeries, doctors or nurses are tired. Okay, so they need some rest. So these are called rest areas or rest room. So these are all in clean and semi-restricted zone. Next is the restricted zone. That is, this is very restricted because sterility has to be maintained. Sterile hona chahiye. Okay, so it consists of the scrub sinks where you scrub yourself. Okay, your hands should be scrubbed properly, and it consists of the OT or the operating room. Okay, the room where the surgery is performed, that is called the operating room. Then protocol starts from here. So staff must change into the theater clothes, okay, the OT clothes, and the shoes also should be changed before entering the clean or semi-restricted areas. So all of you have been posted in OT. You all have, okay, you all know what are OT clothes. You all have worn the OT clothes also, right? The slippers also, the shoes also are different. Okay, they have to be changed in the outer zone only. Then the operating theatre or the restricted zone should be restricted to just the personnel which are involved in the operation. Only those members, those healthcare members which are responsible for the surgery, Okay, it can be doctors, the surgeon who is going to operate, the nurses, scrub nurse, circulatory nurse, and the lab technicians and the anesthetic team. Okay, or only these members should be present in the operating room. Other than that, nobody should be there. Okay, it should not be congested also. Okay, so we have to maintain a sterile field, like I said. So do not allow any sterile personnel to reach across the unsterile areas or to touch unsterile items or vice versa. So once you are sterile, okay, so you can see here the green color is the sterile, okay, the front portion, okay, your hands, the front portion, okay, the front part of your body, they are all sterile, and the upper part, okay, front and the upper part of your body, they are all sterile. Okay, so you should not allow anything to touch that sterile area, or you should not touch anything which is unsterile. Okay, any items which are unsterile, you should not touch. You should not bend down. You should not touch the end of the bed. You should not touch the ground. You shouldn't touch the dustbin. Okay, all these should be maintained properly. So you have to maintain a sterile field. Next is the infection control, prevention and control. So you have to follow the standard and universal precautions. Okay, and according to the Center for Disease Control, okay, CDC is Center for Disease Control, recommendations for prevention of SSI. SSI is surgical site infection. Okay, wherever the surgery is being performed, okay, the incision or the cut has been made on the stomach or has been made on the the legs or the thighs or the arms, that is the incision area. So we have to prevent for surgical site infection. If there should not be any infection in that area. So first is the standard and universal precautions. So we have to follow these standard precautions. Okay, hand hygiene should be followed. PPE should be worn by each health member. Aseptic technique should be followed. There should be prevention of needle stick injury. The environment should be clean. The instruments should be sterile. Should be autoclaved, and there should be a waste management. Proper biomedical waste management should be followed. Okay, there should be separate yellow bag, red bag, blue bag, white punctured proof. Okay, all these should be followed. Next, these are the standard precautions. Whereas the universal precaution is we have to manage the blood spillage or blood and body fluid post exposure management. Okay, so these all you have to follow. Next is the CDC recommendation for prevention of surgical site infection. According to category 1A, okay. Okay. So there are two categories that CDC has recommended. One is category 1A and one is category 1B. In category 1A, they strongly recommend for implementation and supported by well-designed experimental, clinical and epidemiological studies. And category 1B, they strongly recommended for implementation and supported by some experimental, clinical and epidemiological studies and strong theoretical rationale. Okay. So let us, and this is category 2. Okay, category 2, they suggested for implementation and supported by suggestive, clinical or epidemiological studies or theoretical rationale. And there is no recommendation like unresolved issues, practices for which insufficient evidence or no consensus regarding efficacy exists. Okay, so basically there are two categories, category 1 and category 2. So the CDC recommendation for prevention of SSI has also put points on preoperative, intraoperative, postoperative and surveillance care. Okay. So preoperative, that is the preparation of the patient. Okay, so according to category 1A, okay, so we have to identify and treat all the infection remote to surgical site before the elective operation. So if there's any infection in the patient's body, we have to treat them first before performing any surgery. Next, number 2, do not remove the hair preoperatively unless it will interfere with the operation. So only that specific area where the operation is to be performed, only that area only we do the hair removal, or other parts of the body we do not need to remove the hair. Next, if needed, remove hair immediately before the operation by using electric clippers. Okay, so these are under the category 1A. Next, under category 1B, it requires patients to shower or bath with an antiseptic agent at least the night before the operation. Okay, and thoroughly wash and clean at and around the incision site. So, whichever the area that you have to perform the incision, that area you have to properly wash and clean with antiseptic solution. Okay, like Betadine. Okay, and to remove any gross contamination before performing any skin preparation. Next, according to IB, okay, so 1B, the hand or forehand and antiseptics. You have to keep the nails short. Do not wear any artificial nails. Perform preoperative surgical scrub for at least 2 to 5 minutes by using appropriate antiseptic solution. Dry the hands with sterile towels and wear a sterile gown and sterile gloves. Okay, so these are some of the protocols. Then antimicrobial prophylaxis. According to 1A, we have to administer a prophylactic antimicrobial agent only when indicated. And we have to administer by the IV route. The initial dose should not be more than 1 hour before the incision. So, antibiotic should be given to the patient before any surgery. Okay, and that should be not more than 1 hour before the surgery. Okay, we have to give antibiotic. Why? To prevent or to reduce the risk of infection. Next, this is about preoperative. Now coming to intraoperative, we have to maintain the ventilation system properly. Cleaning of the OT should be performed. Disinfection should be done. Microbiological sampling should be performed. Sterilization of the surgical instruments should be done. Surgical attire and drapes should be worn by the healthcare members, and asepsis and surgical technique should be followed. So these are some of the intraoperative protocols. Next, the ventilation. We have to maintain positive pressure ventilation in the operating room. This is according to 1B. Maintain a minimum of 15 air changes per hour with at least 3 fresh air. Do not use ultraviolet radiation in the operating room to prevent surgical site infection. You have to keep the operating room doors closed except as needed for passage of the doctors or nurses or technicians. Next, for cleaning and disinfecting the environmental surfaces, according to 1B, when visible soiling or contamination with blood or any body fluid, okay, we have to use approved disinfectant to clean the affected area before the next operation. So after one operation, after one surgery, we have to clean the whole operating room with approved disinfectant before we move on with the next surgery. Do not perform any special closing the operating room after contaminated or dirty operation. Next, sterilize all the surgical instruments according to the guidelines. Next, wear full PPEs, surgical mask which covers the nose and the mouth. Cap should be worn to avoid the hair and neck and the hair and head with the face. Then sterile gloves should be worn and sterile gloves should be worn. Next, change the scrub suits when it is contaminated with blood or any body fluid. Then, if there's any spilling of blood or body fluid, okay, it happens in OT. There can be spilling of blood. Okay, the blood can spill on the floor or body fluids can spill on the floor. So, in such cases, procedures for dealing with small spillage. If there's a small droplet, okay, a droplet of blood or droplet of sputum or any other body fluids, then gloves and plastic apron should be worn by the healthcare members. The area should be wiped thoroughly by using disposable paper roll or towel. The area should be cleaned using a neutral detergent and warm water. Okay, so you have to remember these are some of the protocols for small spillage. If the spill is very small, like droplets of blood, okay, a blood has been dropped on the floor while performing the surgery or anything. Now this is protocol for large blood spills in dry areas. Okay, so wherever possible, isolate the spill area. We have to isolate the area. We should not allow anyone to come near the spillage area. The area should be vacated for at least 30 minutes. We have to wear protective equipments like disposable cleaning gloves, eyewear, mask and plastic apron, and cover the spill with paper towels and uh, disinfect the area by using disinfectant. Okay, mainly sodium hypochlorite solution is being used to uh, clean the spillage or to disinfect the spill. Okay, so these are some of the protocols. Okay, the infection control protocols that have to be followed in the OT. Okay, so I hope this is clear. Okay, you remember the standard and universal precautions and the CDC recommendation for prevention of surgical site infection. So thank you, class.